Hello, 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 hello. Are you able to hear me now? Hello, hello, hello. Okay, sorry for this. There was some uh, the audio was due to some reason it was on mute. Sorry for that. I'm just recapitulate what I was telling and what um, I was telling that we studied about the bryophytes and thallophytes in the previous classes. We started with the in the last week with the different groups of organism, plants and animals, and then we studied about the how the different plants and animals are classified into different groups based on the different criteria, different features. Okay, and with names are there, and there are different hierarchies are there. Okay, then we studied about the first group of photosynthesizing plant, that is the algae. Algae are called thallophytes because their body is not differentiated into root, stem and leaves. Okay, and after that we studied about the bryophyte. Bryophytes are little highly evolved than the thallophytes. Okay, and these bryophytes are present in the moist and shady places. Okay, so before the evolution of flowering plants, and I told you that there are two groups of plants. Okay, broadly if you divide based on the flowers they produce or not, okay, whether they produce or not. So the cryptogams are the one group of plant which do not produce flower and are called non-flowering plants or cryptogams. There are another group of plants that is flowering plants called phanerogams. Non-flowering plants means these bryophytes, pteridophytes and thallophytes which do not produce flowers. Like we have seen in thallophytes or algae, they have so small bodies, the body is not differentiated into root, stem and leaves, so there is no question of flowers. Okay, so these are also the non-flowering plants or cryptogams. Now after that we studied about the bryophytes, which also is not differentiated into, although it is more specialized and evolved than the thallophytes or algae, but there is no root, stem and leaves in case of bryophytes also. So these are the cryptogams. Again in the pteridophytes we see that there is some more specialization, complexity in the body structure of the plant body, and as compared to the bryophytes, they have got root, stem and leaves, but these are also non-flowering plants. So pteridophytes, bryophytes and thallophytes. Okay, algae, bryophyte and thallophyte, these three are the non-flowering plants and are placed under the cryptogams. Whereas the gymnosperm and angiosperm, will come to that point and then later on, okay, they are called the flowering plants. So now these pteridophytes are very more evolved than the bryophytes, have some conducting tissue. Okay, so hundreds of millions of years ago, when there was no evolution of flowering plants, where there were no any flowering plants, okay, or where there were no any kind the gymnosperm and angiosperm, okay, the landscape were dominated by only pteridophytes. Okay, like if you observe the movie like Lost World and Jurassic Park, that movie has been based on the Mesozoic era, where the reptiles were evolved and reptiles were dominant all over the world, and dinosaurs were the most dominant animals representing the reptiles at that time. So when these reptiles were evolved and the birds and the mammals were not evolved, okay, till that time of evolution of these animals, reptiles, the evolution of plants reached up to the evolution of gymnosperm. So only gymnosperm, no angiosperm is shown in that movie. So that means till the Mesozoic era, when the reptiles were evolved, along with the evolution of plant, okay, there was parallel evolution of plants and animals. So at that time, when the reptiles were evolved, dinosaurs were evolved, okay, at that time in the evolution of plants, the evolution has taken place up to gymnosperm, not up to angiosperm. So that is the reason you won't find any single plant shown as gymnosperm in that particular movie. Okay, that means here before the evolution of gymnosperm, only that till the time of the evolution of pteridophytes, all the landscape of the world were dominated by only pteridophytes, no single plant of gymnosperm. Gymnosperm were evolved from the pteridophytes. Okay, so hundreds of millions of years ago, when the gymnosperm were not evolved, the phanerogams were not evolved, okay, that time it was only the pteridophyte, thallophytes, bryophytes and pteridophytes. There are some three divisions in the pteridophytes that you need to know the names only. That is the Psilopsida, because the details are not in the syllabus of the each and every. That is in the class 11. You need to know the names and the characteristic features. Okay, in class 11 you have to study about the Psilopsida, Lycopsida, Sphenopsida. Okay, there is not at all any detail of these according to class 9 NCERT syllabus guidelines. Okay, so we'll study the three names, that is the three divisions, that is Psilopsida, Lycopsida, Sphenopsida are the three divisions, and the characteristic features are pteridophytes are considered as the first plant to be evolved on land. So that means when the thallophytes were evolved, algae were evolved, that evolved in the water because they grow in water. Okay, because they require a lot of water, they grow in water, they are having the aquatic habitat. Okay, then bryophytes also, they grow in moist and shady places. Okay, but pteridophytes, they are true vertebrates, they do not require. Okay, they for the first time they evolved on the land, the true terrestrial plant that evolved on the land. These cryptogams, that means these pteridophytes, are seedless and vascular. For the first time in the evolution, in the course of evolution, okay, the vascular tissue or the conducting tissues were evolved in the plants. That was in the pteridophytes, and after that in gymnosperm, more complex. Okay, and in the angiosperm also in the in more modified and specialized form. Spores develops in sporangia. These pteridophytes, they reproduce by spores. Okay, and there is a special structure called sporangia which stores the spores, where the spores are formed. Okay, sex organs are multicellular, not unicellular, and they show alternation of generation. Means the gametophytes and sporophytes, they alternates. Okay, that means if there is a one gametophytic plant, they will produce sporophyte, and this sporophyte plant will produce gametophyte. So if the present generation is gametophyte, the next generation will be sporophyte, and again after that the next generation will be the sporophyte, gametophyte, sporophyte, gametophyte, sporophyte. Like this, there will be alternation of generation. The first generation being gametophyte, then the next will be sporophyte. Then again the next will be the gametophyte, and after the gametophyte there will be a sporophyte. So in this way, the alternation of generation takes place between the sporophyte and gametophyte. Okay, so that is called the alternation of generation. Okay, now we will come to the different examples are also asked in the exam in the class 9. For a few examples you should know. The most common is the common examples are that is the Selaginella. Okay, Selaginella. Then is the Lycopodium. Lycopodium. These are very common, and Lycopodium is also used in medicine. Okay, Equisetum. Okay, Dryopteris. Dryopteris. Must all the scientifically must be underlined. Adiantum. Okay, these are the common examples of the pteridophytes. Okay, pteridophytes are the cryptogams. As I told you earlier, there are two groups or two divisions in plants: cryptogams and phanerogams. Cryptogams means non-flowering plants like pteridophytes, bryophytes, algae. Flowering plants means gymnosperm and angiosperm. Okay, now we'll study about the gymnosperm. Okay, now gymnosperm, when we say, like you have seen, the most one more thing I would like to add in the pteridophyte is the most common is the fern. Well, fern is the common name, and fern is a plant common that is the most common example. As general name is the fern. Okay, so which fern or white fern are there, and this belongs to the pteridophyta. Okay, now after this we will study about the gymnosperm. Okay, now you have seen the pineapple. Okay, some conical trees also you have seen. Some gymnosperms are actually they produce seeds, but they reproduce with the help of spores. Okay, in case of this pteridophytes, we saw that they are reproducing with the help of spores, and this there is a special structure called sporangia, which lodges and which stores and which will produce the spores. Okay. Now, in the characteristic features, there are three different groups. Okay. Cyclis. Okay. And the Pinus type of Pinus and Nitalis or Pinus. The main point is that these are the three common examples: Cypress, Pinus, and Nitum. Again, within this gymnosperm, Nitum is the most evolved and little advanced features they have. Okay. Now we'll go through the characteristic features. Okay. So as per your book, NCERT book, a CBSE guideline in the syllabus, you have to go through the characteristic features. Okay, and then the examples, and then we'll study about the comparison between bryophytes and gymnosperm. Okay. So number one is they do not produce flower. They have seed. Okay. They do not produce flower. Do not produce flower. Okay. Seeds are formed inside the. Seeds are not formed inside the fruit. Seeds are not formed inside a fruit. Okay, normally what happens, we have seen, okay, like in mango fruit we have seen that there is seed within the fruit. Okay, so that seed is the actually modification of ovule. Okay, when ovary after fertilization, okay, when it's changing into fruit, so ovule changes into the fruit. But in case of this gymnosperm, okay, the seeds are not formed inside a fruit and they are naked. So they are called naked seeded plant. So they are naked. Seeds are naked, not within the fruit. Okay, so they are called gymnosperm. That is why it's called naked seeded plant. They are naked seeded plant. Seeds are not within the fruits. Naked seeded plants. Okay. They develop leaves which is needle-like. Number 3, develop needle-like leaves. Okay, pointed. Okay. They are perennial or woody. Yes. They are perennial. And woody. Okay, the stem is woody. Now what happens, perennial means yearly. They, for one complete development, they take 1 year. Okay, so they are perennial, and woody means their stems are woody. Okay. They have vascular tissue. They have vascular tissue. That means they have got conducting tissue in the stem. Okay, like we find in case of the highly evolved plants, that is angiosperm. Okay, in angiosperm we find there is a vascular tissue, xylem and phloem. Likewise, here in gymnosperm also they have got vascular tissue. Okay, xylem. Okay, xylem has, although they have this vascular tissue, but not as specialized as angiosperm. Okay, angiosperm is a highly evolved group of plants in plant kingdom. So xylem does not have vessel. Xylem does not have vessels. Okay, and the phloem has no companion cell, and like we find in case of this and phloem, there are four components of xylem, no? Xylem fiber, xylem trachea, vessels. Okay, so in case of this gymnosperm, the xylem vessel is not present. Although xylem tissue is there, okay, but xylem vessel is not there, like we find in case of angiosperm, highly evolved group of plants. Okay, phloem has no companion cell. Companion cell. Okay, and sieve tubes, and sieve tube is also missing. Sieve tube is very prominent feature of the phloem in angiosperm, but that sieve tube is not present in the phloem of gymnosperm. Okay, so this is a very interesting feature. Companion cell and sieve tube are not present in phloem of gymnosperm. Sieve tubes. Okay, sieve tubes are very prominent and distinct feature of the phloem of angiosperm. Okay, so these are the feature of the, and as I told you, there are three groups: Psychotophyta, Cyclis, or Gynkophyta or Anitophyta. Okay, so what I will do is the Cyclis, Anitophyta, or you can say Zinco. Here is the Psychophyta, Zynkophyta, Ginkgo biloba. Okay, is the one common example. Zynkophyta. Gynkophyta or Natalis. There are three groups. So this is only names you need to know. And then most common example I told you, Cycas spinus and nitum. Cycas is the also called living fossil. The living fossil. Okay, remember this is the important point for exam. Living fossil. Living fossil, because this plant has from its evolution, from the time evolution, it has not undergone any changes, and it has all those characteristic features that were present when this plant and this particular species was evolved, and hence it is called living fossils. Another common example is the pinus. Okay, on the pine-like trees you see the conical and with the needle-like leaves, these all belong to gymnosperm. Okay, and the another is the nitum, and nitum among all these are the highly evolved. Okay, like within the group also we have different some are highly evolved and some are less evolved. Okay, so nitum is the highly evolved. Nitum is the advanced, shows advanced features. Okay, among gymnosperm. Okay, like we are mammals, and among the mammals we have got advanced features. Homo sapiens. Okay, we are advanced than monkey. We are advanced than the rats, cats, dogs, lions, tiger, isn't? So similarly, within this gymnosperm, nitum are the advanced, so they are a little more evolved. Okay, so this was the about the features of pteridophytes and the gymnosperm. Okay, when the evolution of plant started, the life started in water. Okay, for the first time when the plant evolved, that were algae, green photosynthesizing plant, algae, thallophyta, that we studied yesterday. Now after that, the next group that evolved were bryophytes. Okay, and the next group after the bryophytes were pteridophytes, that we said when the pteridophytes were evolved before the evolution of flowering plants. Okay, only in the landscape dominated by this fern-like plants, that is pteridophytes, and there were no gymnosperm. When gymnosperms were evolved, okay, they have the true vascular tissue. Though there is some primitive features in xylem and phloem, but they develop some conducting tissue, xylem and phloem. Okay, xylem do not have xylem vessels, and phloem do not have companion cell and sieve tubes. They have important point. Example is the cycospinous and natum. Now we will compare the differences between the xylem and phloem. Bryophyta and this gymnosperm and the gymnast both have pteridophytes and gymnosperm have vascular tissue. Okay, but vascular tissue in gymnosperm is advanced than pteridophytes. Okay, this is the one important point to compare. Obviously, because pteridophytes are less evolved. Okay, they have got some. They were evolved earlier than the gymnosperm. So gymnosperm obviously will have the advanced features in the. But again, since they are evolved earlier than angiosperm, so they will have the primitive features as compared to the vascular tissue of angiosperm. Okay, so these are the things. Whenever you are studying, just keep in mind the evolution of the living organisms. Okay, so you will compare. When you compare, then you will be able to remember. Okay, so whenever studying the other different features, whether you studying about the anatomy, morphology, or physiological system, plant physiology, or animal physiology, or even the different types of physiological processes in the body. Okay, you always keep in mind that this has evolved from after this, or this has evolved from before this, so that because all the animals and plants, okay, were evolved one after another from the pre-existing. So when we say the pre-existing, means the animals, for example, I'll tell you, fishes were evolved in water, and from there, for the first time, okay, a group of animals were evolved, okay, that moved out of the water and they invaded and they came to land. Okay, they started some terrestrial mode of life on the land. So that was frogs and toads. So, but they were not true terrestrial. They were not true land vertebrates. Why? Because some of their life stage they live in water. Okay, they lay eggs in water. Okay, they go for reproduction in water. Okay, so they were not true land vertebrates. They were not true land animals. Okay, now again after that the evolution took place. The reptiles, a new group were formed. They were true land vertebrates. Okay, so whenever we see a next group, we see some complex features. Okay, more specialized in its function. Okay, not only in case of the body structure and all, everything, blood, the component of blood, RBC, the hemoglobin. In hemoglobin molecule also you will find a gradual improvement and gradual specialization and complexity. From the blood of the fishes and from blood to the mammals and the birds, you will find even the hemoglobin, that chemical substance, chemical molecule, organic molecule, okay, hemoglobin, that also show gradual progression and the complexity in its structure, and has become more efficient in function. Okay, so you always have to keep in your mind that evolution has how comparing. And now we will just recap what we studied. I told you that the two groups of divisions are there in plant: cryptogams and phanerogams. Non-flowering plants are the cryptogams, and flowering plants are the phanerogams. Pteridophytes are the groups that evolved after bryophytes. After bryophytes, when pteridophytes were evolved, okay, they for the first time in plant kingdom, vascular tissue was developed for the first time in plant kingdom. Okay, in evolution, the vascular tissue, conducting tissues were evolved, developed. There are three subgroups or subtypes in pteridophytes. That is the Psilopsida, Lycopsida, Sphenopsida. In the pteridophyte, the different features of pteridophytes are considered the first plant to be evolved on land. Okay, because before that, the bryophytes, they grow on moist and shady place. Okay, so that is not true. They were not evolved on the land because they evolved from the thelophytes, from the aquatic plant. Okay, so these are the true plant that evolved on land. Okay, now they are cryptogams, seedless. No seeds are produced like we saw in gymnosperm. Seeds are there in gymnosperm, but it's naked, not within the fruit. Normally, what we open the fruit, we find a seed in angiospermic plant. We come to the gymnosperm also. This is pteridophyte, not gymnosperm. I'm talking about the gymnosperm, which will be studied after these pteridophytes. Okay, so these pteridophytes are seedless, no seeds, but seeds are there in gymnosperm. Okay, but naked. In case of pteridophytes, it is seedless, no seed at all, and the plant is vascular. There is vascular tissue is there, like xylem and phloem. Plant body has true roots. Roots are formed, stems are there, although small in size, but roots are there, stems are there, and leaves has developed. Okay, spores develop in sporangia. There is specially structure called sporangia. The spores are formed and reproduction takes place with the help of these spores. 6 organs are multicellular and they show alternation of generation. And common examples are Selaginella, Lycopodium, Equisetum, Dryopteris, Adiantum, and the most common, the general name for the fern is for the pteridophyte is the fern. In the case of gymnosperm, it is the naked seeded plant. They do not produce flower, but they have vascular tissue in them, and the seeds they produce, which is naked, not within the fruit, not within the fruit. Seed is formed, but not within the fruit. It's naked, okay, not covered, and they developed needle-like leaves, okay, and the stem is woody. Like in pteridophytes, we see the stem is not woody, okay, it's herbaceous, okay, it's soft, not woody. Okay, but in case of gymnosperm, remember this point. In case of pteridophytes, it is not woody. Okay, small, thin. Okay, diameter also it's not big. But in case of the gymnosperm, tree is a big tree-like structure. Okay, not herbs. A tree-like structure we find in gymnosperm, and that stem has got woody stem, woody. Okay, and the stem has got well-developed vascular tissue, but there is no vessels in xylem, no xylem vessel, and in case of the phloem, there is no companion cell and the seed tubes like we find in angiosperm. Okay, cycon is one of the common example of the gymnosperm, which is also called living fossil because it has all the primitive features. When it evolved for the first time, okay, that all the features which it had, now also we find the same features, okay, and it existing with all the old features nowadays also. So hence are called living fossils. Pinus is another example, and Netum is the another third example. There's Cycas pinus and Netum, and there are 3 common examples. Netum is the little advanced among these gymnosperm. Okay, and pteridophytes and gymnosperm both have vascular tissue, but vascular tissue is more little advanced in case of gymnosperm. And this is the all about the pteridophytes and gymnosperm. And in the next class, we will study about the angiosperm. That is tomorrow. Tomorrow we will meet again with the at the same time. Okay. Now, as I told you earlier, okay, we will send you the DPP. Okay, and you need to show. Okay. So what you have to do is you go to your academic booster. Okay. And you click on resources, then click on writing material. The DPP sent by us will be shown, will be there. The topic which we have taught today, you find out there, and then click on, then download it, go through the questions, solve it, and send back to us by clicking photograph or scanning. We'll go through the answers and then we'll send back your remarks. Okay, I will tell you how we have done. Or if you have any queries or doubt, you can ask in the chat box. Okay. So tomorrow again we'll meet okay, at the same time. So thank you for joining and listening, and we'll meet again tomorrow. Bye.